Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. I apologize for being a few minutes late. District announcements. The district has launched an advocacy campaign whereby community members are asked to sign pre-written letters to legislators asking for equitable state aid. The letters were sent home to parents and can also be found on the district's website under the advocacy link. Mrs. Bruno has copies here tonight if anyone would like to sign the letter. Public input on agenda and non-agenda items. The Board of Education recognizes that it serves the residents of the enlarged city school district of Troy, New York, and we encourage public attendance at our meetings and we welcome your comments. Please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes so that everyone who wants to speak has an equal chance to do so. If you are unable to finish your remarks during the 5-minute time frame, you can supplement them by submitting a written statement to the board clerk. The board regrets that because of time constraints, it cannot respond during the public comment period to questions raised. We know that all speakers will display the courtesy and respect in their remarks that is emblematic of the Troy community, and we appreciate your input. Is there anyone wishing to speak this evening? We'll now move over to non-action items. Treasurer's report, Mrs. Conyers.
For the month of January, the budget transfers are mainly salary related, and also due to the increases of the post encumbrance due to any adjustments that's happened since the beginning of the school year. The auditor reviewed 535 claims totaling $4 million. For the general fund, for projections, the state aid projections went up slightly due to final cost reports for the $8.4 million capital project that we filed in December. And for grants too are still under review, and for bank accounts, all they have to reconcile.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Conyers? Moving to the agenda. Staff matters unclassified. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 12.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Superintendent recommendations, staff matters classified. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 5.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Superintendent recommendations for programs. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 4.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Discussion, Joe. General saying that we have been continuing sending people to conferences. And I think, well, I firmly support it, and I think it's great that the district is continuing on this path of getting personal development out there.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Aye. Superintendent recommendations for business and finance. Move for consent agenda items 1 through 3.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Board resolutions. Approval of policies as listed.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Discussion of future meetings. March 15, 2017 at 6 p.m. at Troy High. I was wondering, when we go to Troy High, I always feel like we're kind of crammed in the library. Is there, can you maybe do it here? Does that joke present here? Would that be okay? There's like, what's the board member's thoughts on it? I don't know.
I thought part of the reason why we do it is because it's considered
No.
town hall, but we're right next door, and it's not like we're not as
It's just
known
something
as.
we have the CAC members out in the budget, so we don't have to go back there.
Right.
Yeah, so is that okay if we move to there with anybody?
If it's okay with Joe.
Yeah, see if Joe's okay with it, just, the space.
Yeah, I agree with
And April 4th, 2017, 6:30 p.m. back here at the Troy Middle School. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to discuss prior to adjournment?
Well,
Right.
right,
Today?
yeah, we're supposed to have a capital project update.
I thought they were coming today. What did you say last night?
Yeah, I know,
Oh,
but I think he talked, Adam, why don't want to just give one of us, we can give the board an update.
Okay.
Okay, you can win here and give the board an update.
Okay.
Okay, hang
I thought we were
on.
coming already. I thought, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, I wasn't here
Oh,
last
it's my first one impromptu, right?
You're right,
Huh?
let's put him on the spot.
Okay, sit there.
No, sit there, take a break. We were gonna have pictures.
Yeah.
So So I don't know where Kirsten is, I was just trying to call him. So, he probably thinks the meeting's at 7. Obviously, the capital project meeting meets bi-weekly, every other week, pretty much. We met again today. The phase 1 bid, which is in-kind replacements, meaning roofs, windows, playgrounds, that's going out the end of this week, with bid openings at the end of the month. So that's exciting. That work will be done this coming summer. Phase 2, still being worked on. Again, that's mainly the HVAC systems. That will start the following summer. Some of the other things that we wanted to talk about were the items that have come up during the planning process, during capital project meetings, that are not getting done in this capital project. So if you recall, when we talked about the capital projects, we went out with a $23.3 million bond, capital project for the local share. And some things that came up during the project meetings, they're on a list that I don't have very with me, but primarily storage space is one of them. It's come up numerous times during the capital project meetings and how we address that. And add any that you have this around. Classroom space, as our enrollment does grow, classroom space is always becoming an issue. Of course, we talked about the bond initially was School 16. We had a long conversation about that and its issues with ADA compliance. That was kind of put on hold as we went forward with our HVAC issues at the high school in 18.
Our usage of the pool areas.
Usage of the pool areas.
Now that they're closed, to get somebody on board to look at it and develop what that school,
Instructional space.
Yeah. What that school, the needs of the school.
And some of the things that didn't get into this bond were additional windows. We're doing some of the windows, such as School 2, some at 18. We're not doing all the windows at Carroll Hill, which we're identifying in the building condition survey. And that's roofs. We're pretty much addressing all the roofs in this capital project. And some HVAC unit vents at School 2. Not all of them are being replaced in Carroll Hill as well. So there's a lot that's still to be done. I think we know that. We're still trying to see what the next phase would be, looking to the future, how we would plan those out. So we want to kind of do it as we're meeting now. So it's not, 3 or 5 years from now, we're coming back, trying to figure out what we really need. We're doing it while we're meeting now.
Remember when we got the building condition survey and we put this stuff into, I think, 3 tiers at that time. So it was like mid-50 million if we tried to do everything. So we ended up doing 23 million. So the good thing that the capital project committee is doing right now is instead of waiting for 5 years in another building condition survey to see which stuff we can do. Remember, in the current building condition survey, a lot of it was stuff from the old one again. So they're on top of it now and we're trying to plan ahead for what that next phase will be. And those are all the things that we'll have to address.
Adam, I want to say kudos to you and everybody who worked so hard to use the one-time money we had quickly to get this project approved and underway so that we could take advantage of the money. But I'm concerned, and I know you were up, that we need to plan for the future. And how, do we see any more one-time money coming down the road?
Right. I mean, we were kind of lucky that a lot of that happened.
It all lasted really, it all ended up being perfect timing for us.
Right.
What we've talked about, and actually will be a little bit in our budget presentation on the 15th, is planning for that now. And so one of the ways to do that is for us to get the voters to approve of a capital reserve fund, right?
Capital reserve.
Capital reserve. Now, this year, the way the budget looks, we may put $5,000 in that capital reserve, right? But if we establish the fund this year, it'll allow us, when those one-times come, to go right and put them in that reserve. Because, our ultimate goal is when that next phase comes, to have enough in there to balance out the voter share again. And I think that was a great thing for our voters, and so we'll try to do that again. So establishing that reserve at this year's May budget vote will go a long way in helping us. Now, the money getting in there is a different story, but You know, there are times at the end of the year, I'm not sure it's gonna happen this year again with our budget the way it is right now, but there are times at the end of the year where we have some extra money. And so those instances, one of the places we can put that extra money would be in that capital reserve. So we'll talk more about that, but I'm glad you brought that up, Mary. Thank you.
I think one of the other things too, that with the project, we aren't putting Band-Aids on anything. We are fixing it. And looking at the future, things to do, we don't want to invest money and to destroy, not destroy, but to upset our next step. So we're trying to do things in proper steps, you know, so, because we didn't do it in the past. And now, I think, that's why I think we kind of, actually, we had a big discussion about School 16.
It's a perfect example, School 16.
School 16 would just take so much to get us into the right light, and we would just, why do part of the job? Whereas our next capital project, we can actually get that school into the part where it should be.
Yeah, and doing the part of it is just what you were talking about. We did parts of it this time, we have to undo
Undo
all
it,
of that
right.
to do the major stuff. So those are the kind of planning ahead we're trying to do now. I think we covered it all, Mr. Larcher, we're going ahead.
I'm so sorry, I apologize, I thought we were starting at 7. I apologize for being late. Are there any questions that,
This probably,
One more comment that I know was on the presentation was, in addition to the larger capital project, we have some small capital projects that are in process and wrapping up. And School 14 cafeteria was one of them that really was, for the most part, finished this past week when they finished all the flooring. There's new lighting in there, it's all painted, it looks really great. So if you get a chance, go over there and check it out. I think the architect did a nice job on
and contractors have been both taken together, it's a little work in progress, but they are making progress, and some punch list things to take care of, so I should wrap that very short.
Any questions, ask him.
Nice job,
I'm
Adam.
so sorry, guys.
No,
Adam, did you just update, I think this, the parking lot too over there? Now that it's almost spring, are we?
Right, as soon as the asphalt plants open up, they'll be here to finish that piece up there. Top coat, sorry.
I think one of the major things that we talk about so much in our capital project meeting is the lack of storage that this district has. And that really has to be addressed in our next capital project because the tunnels and whatever we have anywhere just aren't working out. And it's really something that we do have some land, we're gonna have to really do a permanent thing instead of doing all of our basements and all the empty closets and everything else. So we have a centralized inventory too as well, especially with technology that's out there. So that's a big part of our discussion. Almost bi-weekly, an hour is dedicated to, okay, where are we gonna do this? What are we gonna do if we take all this from here? Where are we gonna put it? Our staging and our phasing of a project takes up so much space, and so.
It's a little bit of a shell game, moving things from one place to another, or do the construction work.
So I think what we're trying to do too is just get the board prepared for our next step that's coming down the road, so. But anyway,
It's definitely a process.
it's
not-
definitely a process. But look, this is one of our processes right here, so.
Now,
6:30 in April, if,
unrelated issue, I don't. Can we get an update sometime in the near future on the situation with lead in the plumbing?
yeah. We put something in the Friday report, I think it was either last Friday or the Friday before, that the ones that weren't tested because they were just not functional have now been put into use and were tested. I don't think we got the results back from them yet, but we'll put something in the Friday report.
And then also what, any sort of idea of scheduling of whatever efforts are gonna be made to repair.
Well, that'll depend on what the results end up being. So far, the repairs, the changes we only have to make are the sources. So it's easy changes. If, once we change those sources, it still comes back positive,
Even like the building
then it's
now.
gonna be an overhaul that would be, you know, monumental, is I guess I'll say. So, I mean, we don't know that until those new
Okay.
results come back. It's gonna be testing and retesting as we change pieces of it to see if we've gotten the problem.
Thank you.
Our next capital project presentation, do we want one next month, or do we want to skip a month until everything, like the contracts and everything?
Next month is, April, remember the date? If
Go
it'll be
forward.
a week after, so
It'll be
probably.
Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. May?
Let's wait till May.
Yeah.
Kirsten, is that okay?
Absolutely.
It'll still be 6:30.
Thank you for the updates.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll make a motion to adjourn. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Who's getting these?